Let's make sense of this crazy world with Gemma Tonyuni from GT Communications on the desk here with me, and in Perth we're joined by the Royal Report host Caroline Di Russo. Good to talk to you, both of you. We've got to talk about the border situation. You're close to it there in the west, Caro. 3 boats detected just in the last week now, 6 all up. Numbers of asylum seekers making it all the way to the mainland. Denial of any dramas here from the federal government, but this is very, very worrying.
Of course, it's worrying, and it's worrying for the voters and the electorate up in the northern part of the country because they feel very exposed. And the fact of the matter is, every single boatload of people that arrives in Australia, they arrive on our North Shore. Those ones were up near Broome. Just shows that the government is asleep at the wheel. We had a perfectly good policy that was in place that has served this country very well for the last decade. And Anthony Albanese likes to pretend that he kept Operation Sovereign Borders in place as he did, but he didn't. And we all know that because he didn't keep the temporary protection visas. And now we are seeing the startup of the trade like we always knew that we were going to see, and it is happening. And the government doesn't want to talk about this because it is a weak spot for them. It is something that has not served them well, particularly in the past. And we'll remember back to the Rudd days, the absolute disaster we had then. OK, there are numbers that are trickling in at the moment, but those people smugglers are testing this government, and it's been worth their effort so far.
Yeah, they are testing. We've all seen this movie before. It worries me greatly, Gemma. And this is why Peter Dutton's smart to say at the moment that if you want these new laws to try and fix up the immigration detention system, then put back TPVs, put back Operation Sovereign Borders as it was.
Well, it speaks to something more broadly that is applicable across every area of the Albanese government, unfortunately, and that is there is a lack of accountability, but also a lack of consequences. So people arrive here, there are no consequences. Universities have descended into this hell side of anti-Semitism where Jewish students are being treated the way that we have seen. There are no consequences. Universities are, for the most part, tolerating this. There are no consequences. This is a government that wants to cuddle and word salad its way out of everything. It won't address cost of living in a meaningful way. Respectfully, Mr Chalmers does a little piece to camera out the front of Parliament House at dusk holding a coffee cup and expects Middle Australia to say, oh, everything will be okay. We're not stupid. We know how much our energy bills have gone up by. I'm paying them. Mr Chalmers isn't paying my bills. So this is just another example of this government either unwilling or incapable of putting consequences. It's like they've got it 15. It's like parenting a 15-year-old kid and having them arrested for aggravated assault and punishing them by buying them a new car.
Yeah, exactly. No consequences, no tough decisions. Let's stay on the budget. Here's what the Prime Minister had to say about tomorrow's budget today.
No one left behind is why we are making sure that we take these cost of living measures in order to provide assistance for people who need it.
All right, they're the good guys now, Caro, because they're handing out money. The whole point was they were supposed to get the cost of living down. They said that they would get inflation down and they would get electricity prices down. They haven't been able to do that, so they're going to spend more money trying to help people out with the cost of living. Isn't that just going to drive inflation higher?
But you listen to the Prime Minister and you can tell from watching that clip he doesn't even believe his own BS. I'm not sure why he expects the rest of the country to believe it. I mean, there was no authority there. There was no confidence there. There was someone tell me what my TP is and just let me trot it out and hopefully I'll walk out of this press conference in one piece. The fact of the matter is, and you will remember this from before the 2022 federal election, big tough talk about we are going to go through the budget line by line, blah-de-blah, yada yada, and about how they were going to bring spending under control. There has been none of that. There has been an increase in the operational spending in the budget. That's not just, the one-off things where we spend a bit of money here, a bit of money there, but that baked-in spending, that has gone up. Chalmers says there's going to be more cost of living relief. Well, guess what? The states are also coming out with their budgets and they're having more cost of living relief. So there is money being thrown around everywhere. Rebates on gas bills and, cash handouts for kids going back to school, all those sorts of things. That is all new money into the economy, and that all drives inflation. The other thing which Jim Chalmers won't tell us, and he got asked a question last week at the press club, was how much off-budget spending is there in all these pet projects that their mates in the superannuation industry are bankrolling? Because it might not be on the books, but it is still new borrowing and new money going into the economy. And all of that adds up. And, sadly for the Premier, for the Treasurer, whether it's state government spending, federal government spending or off-budget spending, he is going to be the person who's going to wear the consequences of that, because the Australian people expect him to be the one who keep it under control.
Yeah, well, it all feeds in. As you say, it's all being pumped into the economy. It's all feeding the inflation beast. And this brings us, Gemma, to the situation where the Reserve Bank says inflation doesn't look like being below 3% for another year. Yet the budget tomorrow is going to say it's going to be below 3% by the end of this year. They're completely at odds with each other.
Well, Chris, I can say that I'm going to model for Victoria's Secret in July. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. The Premier can say whatever he wants. The Premier has no real life experience in the real economy. The Treasurer, pardon my mistake, the Treasurer is a career politician, a career academic, a career party person who has never worked in the real economy. So please excuse me for taking the Reserve Bank's view and external experienced views on where the economy is likely to go. It's a case again of this government. I don't know what planet they're on. I genuinely don't. It's almost like they're saying, how can we reduce our chances of getting re-elected?
Well, exactly. What it says to me, though, Gemma, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I wonder, when they're talking in these terms, whether we're not looking at an election later this year, because so much of this will so quickly become unravelled early in the new year.
Well, I think others will have a more informed view than I do on the timing of things, but I think they are damned if they do and they're damned if they don't, because if they go early, they're going to look desperate. And there's enough pressure. Don't forget cost of living pressure. There's enough cost of living pressure, plus the social absolute dissolution of our social cohesion that falls squarely in the lap of this government. There is no one else to blame. Nobody else is responsible for that. So the longer that they hold out, the worse it's going to be for them. If they go early, they are going to look desperate, because they are no doubt desperate.